It is 9:37, and we do have quorum at this time with Angela, Scott, and yourself. We've also got Alex Dickerson, Dustin Owens, and it looks like we've got two participants, Eric Woodard and Timothy No, on the line. So if you want to go ahead and get started, Brenda is still working to get on the line, but we're working with her.
Thank you, Tasha. Good morning, everyone. We will go ahead and start the board meeting for January 19th, 2021. Alex, I will go ahead and defer to you since this will be a meeting online.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Alex Dickerson with Metro Legal. Just a reminder to all the participants today, be it staff or commissioners, board members, that you, if you're going to speak and you haven't been previously identified by the chair by name, then make sure to identify yourself. That's one of the requirements of the governor's executive order permitting electronic meetings. But first, we need to have a motion to that the proposed agenda constitutes essential business of this body and that meeting electronically is necessary for the health, safety, and well-being of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Thank you, Alex. And may I get a motion, please, to have that meeting online?
This is Angela Crane Jones. I place a motion to have a meeting online.
And I, Priscilla Norman, as well. And while we're on the phone, may I get a roll call for the board members that are here? And just state your name and just say here.
Scott Moskovitz here.
Angela Crane Jones here.
And Priscilla Norman here. So we will go ahead and begin with how everyone is supposed to log on. So if you would like to join via phone, please call 415-655-002. Excuse me, let me give the number again. It's 415-655-0002. And when prompted for the meeting, please access and enter the code 146-251-8385 and follow that with the pound sign. And if that does not work and you're having problems, please go to nashville.webx.com and enter 146-251-8385 in the join meeting text box and hit enter. Fill out the information on the right-hand side. The password is Metro, and then click Join Now. If you would like to make any public comments, please use the comment line during the event, and that number is 629-255-1963. We will move forward as far as with the announcements. As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Nashville Farmers Market Board today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. You may appeal, your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. The public comments for individuals requesting to be addressed by the board will be limited to 3 minutes unless granted more time by the board chair. Each person authorized to speak is expected to state his or her name, their address, and the organization they will be representing. And if the speaker reads from prepared text, please provide a copy to the board staff. Do we have any comments, public comments at this time?
Charles, do we have any call-ins at this time? We do not have any call-ins at this time. We do have Mr. Woodard on the line, and he will be calling in during the leasing opportunities section of the agenda. But at this time, our line is clear.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. And may I get a motion for approval for the not the December meetings, the regular meeting minutes that we have received from the board and the staff, excuse me.
Scott Moskovitz, so motioned.
Thank you, Scott.
Angela second.
Thank you, Angela. I'm having issues right now with the agenda.
Madam Chair, this is Alex Dickerson from Legal.
Yes.
You've taken the motion in the second. You still need to go through the vote part, just a reminder.
But thank you so much, Alex. I'm having issues here with the. So while I'm trying to get my information back up, could I please go ahead and get the roll call for the minutes, please? Just state your name and that you so moved.
Scott Moskovitz, so moved.
Angela Crane Jones, so moved.
And Priscilla Norman, so moved. Let's see here. Tasha, I may need you to go ahead and resend this to me via text. I'm having computer issues, so everything's shutting down on me.
Yes, ma'am. It should be in your inbox now.
Perfect, thank you.
Or in your text inbox now as an attachment.
Okay, that should be great.
Priscilla, while you're doing that, do you mind if we give some time for Scott to introduce himself to us?
Yes, that will be great. And welcome, Scott. Thank you so much. And we're happy to have you join us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to get to serve. I served once before, and I'm happy to be back. For those of you who don't know me, I've got a long history of all types of entrepreneurial experience, but I think what'll be great for any contribution I might make to the farmers market will be my long time, 30-year plus experience in retail and having a store on Elliston Place and building many other retail operations from David's Cookies to Moscow's to my daughter's now picked up the mantle and she's got Little Moscow's. So I look forward to contributing in any way possible to help continue the great legacy of the farmers market. I appreciate the honor. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Scott. And we're happy to have you join us. We will move forward. Thank you, Tasha, for sending me the information. I will turn it back over to you for the financial overview and payment plans and any fee waivers that we may have.
Thank you, Priscilla. Maria's going to give this update. She's going to take the next two sections of the agenda. So after she's finished with the financial overview, she will move right into the operating budget. Hi, good morning.
Good morning,
So
Maria.
I'm going to do a quick overview of the February metrics. As I've described before, we always review last month's metric in the following month's board meeting. So I will forward this out to anyone that has not received it. I don't think I had Scott's email at the time. But I'll do a quick overview and round out the numbers and then follow up with that document. So in February, we brought in $51,000 in revenue for a total, $51,000 in revenue, and for a total of $1,007,000 for fiscal year 21. We currently have a past due balance in the market house of around $16,000. In that same period, we spent about $174,000 overall for our operating expenses.
And as you can see, year to date, we're sitting at around $923,000 in expenses for the year that hit our operating budget. As you can see, there's a small gap between those two numbers year to date, and I do anticipate next year needing to transfer funds from our special fund that we've used the last couple of years. We had minimal COVID expenses this month and are no longer invoicing against any tornado expenses currently. And I did update the fund balances. We spent around $10,000 out of our capital fund in February and have a remaining balance of $103,000. We have not used any of our HVAC fund, so that's sitting at $42,000. And we have that special fund, capital fund, Fund 40460, that has about $700,000 in it, and that's what will be supplementing the gap in our budget this year. Does anyone have any questions about February expenses or revenue?
Maria, can you explain one of our, I think our utility expenses or janitorial expenses was double what we anticipated it being?
Yeah, so the expenses this month are a little high. I noticed last month that some of the expenses had not been processed. The invoices had not been processed. So I'll be working on those the next month to get them back in the right month. Last month we had about $87,000 in expenses, and as you can see, it's at $173,000 this month, $173,000 this month. So that should even out a little bit over the January-February period.
And what was the revenue? Could you repeat that for me?
So the revenue was $51,000 this month. That's definitely low for us. A lot of the credits from the grant are still, we're still working through some of the credits that the market house merchants have due to the grant that was issued in December. A lot of those are running out. Those dollars are running out. So this month was one of the first months to get rent payments from those merchants, and it'll increase in a huge way next month as those dollars run out.
But it's important to note that while it's a low month in revenue, the revenues that we would typically receive from those market house merchants were received in December through the grant. So it was booked earlier in the year.
Okay, thank you, Tasha.
Mm-hmm. So right now, as Maria shared, there's one large past due account. We are continuing to work with BNC Market Barbecue on their past due account. They have been making improvements in the timing of their payment plan. As you all know, we provided them a 90-day payment plan in January, and they have had a difficult time meeting the terms and conditions of that plan, but they have been working over the past several weeks with the Nashville Business Incubation Center, thank you, Angela, to apply for a second round of the PPP program. They do believe that that will get funded, whereas their previous applications had not due to the timing of their purchase of the business. And once that is processed and deposited, they will be paying off their account, and they believe that they'll be able to do that by the end of this month. They have communicated that to myself and to Maria, and they are continuing to make payments in about $2,000 increments on a weekly basis. So we do have progress in that area, and we are hopeful that by the end of this month, which would conclude their payment plan term, they're back in good standing. If they're not, then we'll bring it to the board's attention immediately in early April, and we'll need to discuss that at the April board meeting.
Thank you, Tasha.
This is Scott Moskovitz. Question, if you look on a 12-month period, a 12-month, on an annualized basis, what is an average income for the market? Just ballpark, hand grenade approach. What is normal?
Normal would be about $100,000 to $120,000 a month.
Okay,
It
perfect.
really depends. The market house generally brings in around $85,000 a month. And then, because obviously that's a more clear number because they're all on leases. The market
Right.
house revenue fluctuates throughout the year. This is definitely the lowest income we bring in all year from the market house or from the farmsteads.
Right.
But then that can go, I mean, that can really range from like $10,000 a month to like 40. So,
Got it.
yeah.
That gives the ballpark I'm looking for. While I've got you, can I just give you my email address real fast so you can send me that information?
Yeah.
So it's SCOTT at SCOTTMOSKO.com. Scott at scottmoscow.com.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah, I'll
so
make
much.
sure to get that over to you. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I mean, I would like to express, I guess, my concern still about the past due account. I'm still not completely confident about the sustainability of that business, even after the PPP loan. They've shared their potential PPP amount with our team, and while that will get them up to date, I am concerned. I'm very, very concerned about the following months. They have not really had a month since the start of COVID that they were able to make their full rent payment. So I'm just want to express my concern to continue to push this out each month.
Yeah, I definitely think that it needs to be closely monitored. The goal right now is to get their past due payment paid off and get them back in good standing. But if they slide backwards, the team will be bringing that information to the board and making sure that, there's continuity in communication and also planning on if they're unable to maintain timely monthly rent payments, they'll fall back into a payment plan situation again. And we need to be really thoughtful and careful with that regarding the sustainability of their business at the market and just in general how it impacts our revenue earnings, because our books close at the end of June, and we don't want to carry a past due balance when our books close.
And this is Scott, just a little overview. Did I understand that they had the current tenant had bought that business recently, or am I wrong there?
You're correct, Scott. So that business was owned since its inception by Ed Smith, and Ed sold the business in late October, early November of 2019 to Teddy and Jess, Daniel and Jess. And they had worked for Ed in managing and running the business for many years. Of course, they purchased that business without knowing that a pandemic was going to ensue.
Yeah, timing was.
Yes, and you know all too well, the timing of federal aid for businesses that don't have a sales history the year prior to the pandemic. It's been very challenging for businesses to be able to tap into any of that aid. But maybe Angela can speak to this a little bit as well. We have been working with them, as has the NBIC, to help them navigate the loan programs and the funding opportunities. They've been going through a financial assessment, and that helps us really understand whether or not they can sustain this. And I would say that we're still in that window of understanding what's going to happen over the next few months for their business. While their business is picking up and their revenues are up, it may not be enough for them to stay in good standing.
And the previous owner, the gentleman that sold it to them, he is no longer obligated on this lease.
He is not. They transferred the lease to the new ownership back in November of 2019.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
If there's not any more questions, I can move on to a quick overview of the budget that was entered for FY22.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
All right, so I made some slight adjustments to the revenue, but overall we entered a flat budget for the year. So we're staying at $2,052,300. That's been our budget, I think, the last 2 years. So we are projecting to bring in $1.5 million in revenue. I think it's $1,552,052 or $1,552,300. And I definitely think that's achievable. We're expecting to bring 1.3 to 1.4 this year, and I think with some of our kitchen spaces being back open, and all merchants did move to the next step in their leases. So I definitely think that's achievable. And then we did request a subsidy for that gap in the budget of $500,000. I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. As far as expenses, there were minimal changes within the budget. As far as expenses, we do have 3 business units that operate under our budget, which is it's like facility management, which is just our overall operations, a marketing business unit, as well as a Grow Local Kitchen business unit, which we will use for both of our kitchen spaces. And the major changes I made this year were just to move funds back into that kitchen business unit that had previously been taken out due to the Grow Local Kitchen fire. So last year in True-Up, I took those funds out to reallocate them toward other areas in our budget. And this year I'm putting them back in as we plan to open that kitchen as soon as possible.
I was going to ask you, do you have a date that you're looking at, Tasha or Maria, regarding the Grow Local Kitchen?
We do. So there are 2 components to the Grow Local Kitchen. One, the commissary kitchen that was damaged by the fire in June. We are having a mediation for that claim, that insurance claim, later this month. Okay. And then once that claim is finalized and approved, we will have the funds necessary to begin the restoration work. Okay. And replace the damaged equipment. So I can't say that I have a date on that specifically. I will have more information to share about that soon after that first mediation meeting occurs. The second space is the new space, and Heather's going to be giving a pretty broad update on that new space when we get to the CARES grant of the agenda, but that is coming online very soon this spring. And again, she'll walk you through the details for that momentarily.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please continue, Maria.
Okay. Yeah, so overall the expenses, obviously that's also flat. And I think we're in a good space. And we did try to kind of project what those Grow Local Kitchen expenses will look like with those two kitchens operating. And then we will have an opportunity to adjust those numbers again after the budget is approved, and kind of reallocate any funds that Heather might discover as the kitchen starts getting more developed. As far as some of our requests for our department, there was a request to submit a 2% spending reduction scenario. For us, that was $37,500. And that 2% scenario that we submitted, we don't have a lot of areas in our budget to take that money out of, but we decided to submit it as part of our repair and maintenance budget. So So that would come out of the repair and maintenance budget, but would still have a healthy amount of dollars in that object account to use for maintenance on the property. We've already extremely streamlined like our marketing budget, and our salary budget is right in line with the positions that are approved for our department. So there's just really not a lot of other areas to take those funds out of. And then obviously our second request was that subsidy request for $500,000. We've been working with finance and the budget team over the past year, and they were well aware of our intention to submit a subsidy request, just based on our meetings and our projected revenue. A few other requests, we did submit 2 4% requests. One was for door automation, which was a project that had been developed as we explored areas of our property during COVID. So the door automation project has been entered for $350,000, which would automize all our entrances as well as our vehicular gate. And then we also put in a request for $50,000 just toward general maintenance, which would obviously kind of help that $37,000 that we proposed as the 2% reduction. The last set of funding we requested was the $3 million capital project that has been a request for our department for the last 5 years. There's a wide range of items in that request as far as what falls under that project, but it includes things like solar panels and other property improvements. Does anyone have any requests or any other questions about the FY22 budget at this time?
I'll just add real quick, this is Tasha. When we talk about that $3 million request, which was the last item Maria brought up, that request has been a reoccurring request for the past 5 years. We made that first ask under the Berry administration, which was a continuation of facility improvements that had been previously funded. We were awarded a $3 million capital improvement budget under her administration, which was utilized to renovate the patios, the restrooms, as well as creation of the grand entrance and introduction of public art. We were able to do a little bit of landscape improvement with that budget as well, and some lighting improvements to the facility. Also within that budget, we were able to work with the State Department of General Services to address parking issues as the Tennessee State Museum was under construction. So a little more than $150,000 went towards temporary parking improvements for our merchants and restriping and one-way traffic direction on 6th and 7th Avenue. That $3 million, we've got a little over $100,000 left. That's the item when Maria refers to our capital funds, and she tells you we've got, I think it's like 130. Is that right, Maria? 130 in that one?
Yeah, now it's like 100.
We got a secondary capital improvement budget for our HVAC shortly after that. The HVAC was $1.2 million, and we utilized that full fund balance to replace the HVAC equipment at the market, which were the 2 AON units, and then the installation of 35 plus single air handling units that are placed throughout the property in merchant zones and common areas. When we did that project, we were able to apply for an energy efficient credit through TVA, and they deposited that credit to our HVAC account, which is why we have that remaining balance of about $40,000 in that BU. This new $3 million is a continuation of the original project. The original project afforded us planning funds to evaluate the improvements to our facility in terms of landscape and public art. So all the planning has already been done for assessing our facility for solar panels, for a native landscape and arboretum status, for public art programs and extension of the public art that's already at the facility. And then it also provides funding to create a native urban farm environment and achieve arboretum status, while also enclosing and improving the infrastructure of the farm sheds, which we have 2 of. So that $3 million budget, that capital request, has a lot packed into it. Every year during the budgeting process, we're asked to update any of our previous capital requests that have been unfunded. This particular project has been reviewed by the planning department and has been recommended and is just has not been funded in a budget yet. So it is familiar to all the parties, but again, it has not been funded yet. We do not know the exact timing of this administration's intent to file another capital budget, but departments are required to turn all this information in when we go through the annual budgeting process. So as Mayor Cooper determines when it's best for the finances of the city to introduce another capital spending plan, our department hopes that the board, as well as our merchant community, will advocate for the support and funding of that project. Maria,
Great that all that, this is Scott. This is great that all that work's been done. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
This is Brenda. Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Sure, Brenda.
So your comment on the timing, that's just for the $3 million project, or are we a little bit uncertain about the timing of the entire budget, including the subsidy?
No, we're not concerned. That's just for that $3 million.
Okay, and what's the rest of the time? When will we know about like the subsidy that we're asking for in the budget, that kind of thing?
So what's been communicated to all Metro departments, and this is Tasha, is that we had to turn in our budget submissions in February. Those go to the finance department. The mayor's team reviews the funding requests from each department. And in April, it's anticipated that the mayor will introduce his recommended budget to Metro Council. And then Metro Council will spend the latter half of April and May evaluating those budget requests and seeking either an amended budget or passage of the mayor's recommended budget. That typically occurs by the end of May, early June.
Thank you.
And Dustin, if you have anything that you feel like needs to be added there from finance, feel free to chime in.
Just to let the board know, even though the mayor will recommend a budget, council can introduce their own budget. It has to remain within the same dollar frame as the administration, and they can move money around. So if for some reason a subsidy was not awarded, then a council member could try to move money from one department to cover the subsidy amount that is requested, or vice versa, meaning if she gets a subsidy, the department, then a council member could technically request that subsidy to go to another department. So what I have told all of my enterprise funds is to keep an eye out during the budget process of where your subsidies are going to be.
Thanks. That's good.
Thank you, Dustin. Maria, did you have anything else for us, or have you wrapped for your discussion?
No, that's it. And let me know if you have any other questions. Always feel free to reach out with any questions about the budget or past due accounts. I do plan to share some information with Scott just to get him up to date on some of the current happenings in the market that he might want some background information on. So I'll plan to do that to kind of get him up to speed so we can have great conversation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move forward with the CARES Act grant report.
So I'm going to ask Heather to do the majority of this reporting, and before she's kind of moving over, we're in this like little virtual environment, and we've got to move seats when it happens. Before she gets started, just as a reminder to everyone, we have received CARES Act funding from multiple different areas over the past year. So we did get CARES Act funding from Metro government. That's what we utilize for our facility improvements, as well as our rent relief program. We also received a grant of up to $250,000 through the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. And that grant was specific to our request for business disruption funding, which would replace lost revenue from when we were closed in March and April, as well as a supply chain project, which is what Heather has been eating, sleeping, and breathing for the past couple of months. That grant is still in progress. Again, our award was up to $250,000. And we will be meeting with, we'll be doing a conference call with the Tennessee Department of Ag next week to go over line by line all of our expenses, and then they will be pushing our reimbursement forward. So we're very hopeful that our reimbursement will actually come in by the end of this month, if not early April, because we are incurring expenses for that project. The way that grant is set up is that you have to incur the expenses, submit the documentation that the expenses have been incurred, and then be reimbursed. So Heather's going to give you an overview of where we're at with the development of the supply chain project, which is the expansion of the Grow Local Kitchen programming.
Hi, this is Heather. So currently we've used funds up to $200,000 to purchase necessary equipment for the space, as well as getting plumbing and electrical work finished. The kitchen now has concrete floors, which are curing before they'll get an epoxy seal. The space itself has been designed with 4 separate food production areas that could be rented concurrently, including hot food prep, a bakery, vegetable prep, and specialty production with items like a blast chiller and a combi oven. The space also has a classroom and workshop area in front with actually really nice views of the farm sheds and state capitol. We're working with the finance and IT departments to approve a scheduling and invoicing system called the Food Corridor, which is made specifically for commissary kitchens. At this time, we've sourced dish machine and linen rental services. So with those expenses in mind, I'm working closely with Maria to factor in those charges, as well as estimating electrical and janitorial expenses to establish a rate card that would make this space profitable for the market and accessible for its users. We anticipate being able to present the rate card for approval at the next board meeting and hope to have the space in a usable state within the next few months. But as Tasha said, at this time, we are on track to receive full funding for the project. Are there any questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
This is a very exciting time for the Nashville Farmers Market. Just to give a little depth for Scott and for everyone else, we've had the Grow Local Kitchen at the market for over a decade. The Grow Local Kitchen has played a great role as a home to restaurants that want to pop up and test their concept. Some of them come see us before they want to start a food truck or open up a brick and mortar restaurant. We established a residency program in 2016 that increased our revenue earning potential and improved accessibility to more restaurateurs that were looking to utilize the space. And what we found over the last couple years is that there's a real lack of commissary kitchen space that producers can utilize, whether they're a farmer or a food producer, a caterer, a food truck, to actually manufacture, package, and label their products. And during the pandemic, you know, one of the things that was highlighted through the evaluation of merchants as well as the Tennessee Department of Ag was that this lack of access to commissary kitchens really limited farmers and local food producers in being able to meet the new demand in the supply chain. So by getting this grant, we're putting the market in a position to not only support producers from a retail perspective, but now really offer this one-of-a-kind space where they're already doing business in order for them to produce their products at the market. And there's a significant line forming from our merchants to utilize the space. We've been kind of garnering interest in this project before we even applied for the funding. We have many farmers that want to utilize it to flash freeze the berries that they're harvesting to extend their season. We've got one farmer that's also wanting to use it to flash freeze peas and green beans so that they can offer those products in off-season. We've got some meat producers that are interested in packaging sausage products and developing new recipes in the kitchen, folks that want to make jams and jellies and other artisan products. And we've also got some bakeries that are interested in utilizing the space, some of those who are already participating at the market. So this is a great step forward in terms of fulfilling the mission of the Nashville Farmers Market. And I want to commend the whole team, you know, whether it's been Maria crunching numbers, whether it's been Charles making sure all the infrastructure is being taken care of and the project's moving forward, as well as Heather, who's really bore the main responsibility of developing the equipment needs, the operational procedures, the policies, the recruitment strategies, and the rates for this kitchen. So it's been a very, very quick project, and they've really come together and pulled it together nicely. And we're also very appreciative of the support we're getting from the State Department of Agriculture. So there'll be more news about that as that funding comes in line. But we know we're very anxious to get that check. To just kind of elaborate a little bit, right now we've held our expenses for the project right at $200,000 because we've made a request for business disruption funding for $50,000. It's been very challenging for organizations to get approved for the business disruption request. So when we have our call with the Tennessee Department of Ag next week, they'll be discussing with us whether or not that funding request is going to be moved forward for funding. And if it's not, they're going to allocate that $50,000 back to the kitchen project. And Heather is well prepared to expend those funds for other items that we need for the kitchen or work that needs to be done, rather than it hitting our existing capital balance fund. I know that was a lot of information, but we want to make sure that you guys are well aware of that project status.
Can I ask, this is Scott, can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
Yes.
So how would that kitchen's revenues, listen, I want to just make this clear. When I'm asking these questions, I'm looking at it as a hand grenade approach. Let's just do a good guesstimate. So how would the revenue in a good environment, how would those revenues stack up to what we get out of a current, long-term lease or someone who's in the market house? Have you done any analysis on that?
So we're not really, at this point, we haven't compared this hourly leasing program or hourly rental program to a market house multi-year lease rental. That's definitely some analysis that the team can do in advance of presenting the proposed rate card. You know, Scott, I know that you have a lot of experience in that area, and so if you want to work directly with Maria and Heather in that evaluation process at the April meeting, we would definitely welcome it. But in anticipation, you know, we have market house tenants that pay, you know, upwards of $6,000 a month, and some that pay $1,500 a month. It's all dependent upon their allocated square footage, and they're on a rate plan that steps every year. So, you know, 7 years ago, most of our tenants were paying a little over $9 a square foot, all in, and only some of them were being charged back for their utility usage, and others weren't. Then they stepped up to $11.79 right as I was kind of after my first year. And then in 2016, we introduced a new rate plan that went to 13, and then 15, and 17. And we have two merchants that are now graduating out of that lease, moving into a $19 a square foot lease. So every year, their rate graduates as part of the market's financial self-sufficiency business plan. You know, many years ago, that really wasn't the focus area, to be candid. And, you know, there was an expectation that the market would rely on financial support from the taxpayer base. And so this organization's been working very hard for the past couple years to increase its rent collections in an affordable, accessible way for existing tenants and new tenants, so that we don't have to rely on taxpayer funding, and we can fund ourselves and fund the expansion of our program.
Well, just the progress that you just outlined is really phenomenal. I mean, I remember long ago that when I was there, what we were looking at. Yeah, it would just be very curious to say, if you took that space and did a small projection and said, we think the revenues here will equal X amount of dollars a square foot. I wouldn't, and I'm always available to give my limited 2 cents worth and say, maybe there's an easy way to do it. I don't think it has to get down to the penny or even the dollar. It's just, if we can understand that, then it also sets a precedent for new projects in the future. What is our best revenue and service source? That'd be great. And thanks for answering the question. But I think what you've accomplished in rent increases and putting plans in place is a huge improvement over the past. Thanks.
Thank you.
And this is Brenda. Can I just ask a clarification? I'm really thrilled about this. In addition to the you know, income, it really supports the farm community to have these this capacity. Does this mean that this is exactly where the pop-up kitchens were, so there will not be any pop-up kitchens, or is this an additional? I don't quite. I'm not sure I understand that completely. Does this completely replace the pop-up kitchens?
So we'll have both. So
okay.
Once we get the claim money for the build back of the Grow Local pop-up kitchen, we'll be moving forward with getting that rebuilt and reopened. But this is actually a completely separate space. It actually used to be our trash area.
Okay.
So we repurposed the area after moving all waste disposal outside of the property. We're repurposing it to be this kitchen that has the 4 rental areas, classroom space, and full dish area.
Okay,
So
that's what I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we'll have 2 Grow Local kitchens, basically.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you, Heather, for the update and for the information. We will move forward with the lease opportunities. Tasha?
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and make Eric Woodard of the Picnic Tap a panelist, and while that's happening, I'll just share a brief overview of leasing opportunities that are available at the market right now. We do have one large space. It's 1,307 square feet that was formerly occupied by Batch Nashville. It is readily available for leasing. We have evaluated 7 applications for this space. None of those applications are in a position to move forward for recommended presentation or approval to the board at this time. And we have one application that has just come in over the past week, and we are anticipating one more to come in this month, and the staff will be reviewing those. So we don't have a recommendation for that space at this time, but it is a continuous recruitment effort to get that space filled. We are offering it at the base rate of $19 a square foot, plus their CAM charges. And I'll be happy to send the board the rate card information. If you know of anyone that's interested in that space, there's a very easy application that interested parties can fill out on our website that gives the staff basic information about their concept. This area is a little unique, a lot unique to the market, as it's in the center of the market house, essentially. And it is a retail zone space where most of our space is zoned for commercial kitchen use, whether it has a hood or not. This area is a large section of our leasable space, and it is only zoned for retail. Does not have any existing plumbing infrastructure. It only has electric. So there are a lot of restaurants that have expressed interest in building out another restaurant concept at the market. I think that if we're unable to find the right retail partner, the board should look at either dividing that space into multi-units. It could easily accommodate 2, maybe even 3 small stall concepts to make that area more attractive for small concept, food hall type restaurant services. That is definitely something to evaluate going forward if we're unable to find the right retail partner. We have one silo that is vacant right now. It's the one over by Green Asia. We just filled a silo a few months ago with Treat Baking Company, and they're doing well. And we do have someone interested in the other silo. They have been to the property to review it, and we'll be meeting with them in the next few weeks to try to discern how to accommodate their operations. It's actually one of our makers at the market who's interested in the space, which is great. We look at those silos and our carts as resident opportunities to incubate merchants that are ready to step up their retail operations at the market. So imagine someone who's retailing in the market on Saturdays or Friday through Sunday in a farm shed booth, and they're ready to move to a 6-day-a-week operation, and they want to create more of a shop experience versus a booth experience. Those silos offer them an affordable way to get into a mini shop experience, as do our carts. And we have one new cart lease. It's a pet company that's planning on starting this spring, offering dog treats and collars and leashes that are made here in Tennessee. We've been working with our former cart artisan, Annette of Intentional Illumination, to determine whether or not she is going to resume her cart operations. She's had some personal things going on with the death of her mother over the past 2 months, so everything with her right now is on hold, but we're hopeful that once we get into spring and she gets past this difficult time in her life, she'll be able to resume her operations with her cart as well. Other than that, we do not have any restaurant leasable space available at the market right now. With the closure of the Grow Local Kitchen pop-up kitchen due to the fire, we're not able to host any pop-ups in our space, but we will continue to offer that application and recruit so that should a space become available in a quick fashion, the market will be able to act as quickly as necessary to evaluate pending applicants and move a new tenant into a restaurant space. That being said, we've been talking about a concept with Eric Woodard for the past 2 years. Eric is the owner of the Picnic Tap, which has been in operation at the market for 6 years now, and a really great job of developing that concept, and he now has a secondary location at Hunter Station. He's recently purchased another concept that he's investing in, and he's circling back with the board today to talk about his silo bar concept that would expand upon the services that he's been offering in the concept for the past couple years. So I'd love to turn it over to Eric to talk about this concept, and today is really a preliminary discussion to bring this back to the board for your ongoing review so that he can discern the board's interest and confidence in his project moving forward. Eric, you want to introduce your concept or reintroduce your concept to the board now?
Yeah, thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, Eric, we can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Tasha, for the introduction. Yeah, so the concept that we're going to discuss here briefly that I'm going to reintroduce the board to is, in fact, something that we took a look at beginning 2 years ago. The original proposal was brought to the board in April of 2019. What we're proposing is a bit of new construction at the Nashville Farmers Market. Outside of the market house, in between the farm sheds, we're proposing to construct a new sort of freestanding facility I'm not sure exactly if it's the north or the south end. It's the space that would be in between where the greenhouse is. So on the market side of the greenhouse, is everybody familiar with approximately where we're discussing?
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay, so for the last several years, we have been operating an extension of our beer garden business outside in the farm sheds and occasionally inside the market house, which is sort of referred to commonly as the mobile bar. It is a small bar on wheels, thus making it mobile and giving us the ability to locate at various places within the farm sheds, different stalls for different purposes during different events. And the mobile bar offers craft cocktail services. It's an extension of the beer garden business that we've developed in the market house, and it's been really well received by the guests at the market who want something a little bit above and beyond draft beer. We've developed a handful of cocktail offerings that have been really fun to serve our guests with during various special events. And over the last couple of years, we've grown that business to include not only special events like, for example, the Strawberry Jubilee or the Watermelon Festival, but actually offering cocktail services most of the weekends during the peak season when the market has been really busy. The proposal we're discussing now is an extension of that part of our business to create a freestanding structure which would serve as a permanent cocktail bar located outside of the market house in between the farm sheds, that we would operate mostly on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday basis, and during other special events when we see that there's going to be a large enough crowd to sustain that type of business. It's a very interesting proposal that we've got, because what we'd like to do is refashion a vintage grain silo to keep it sort of thematically in line with the customer experience, what they get, what they see, what they experience when they go through the farm sheds. We took a look at a handful of similar facilities around the country that have taken literally old grain silos from farms and converted them into freestanding structures that operate as a craft cocktail bar. And we designed ours to sort of emulate what we saw at other places. And I've got some images that are contained in a proposal that some of the board members have seen. I'm not sure if I can do any type of screen share to bring any of those up right now. Tasha, can you comment on that? I see a button that says share content, but it's not available to me.
Yes, we're changing your parameters right now to allow you to screen share. So if you just give us just a second, she's close.
I'm working on it.
All right, you should be able to do it now.
Okay.
So if you guys are up on your computer screen, you should be able to see this. If you're calling in by phone or by mobile device, it might be a little more difficult for you to see this, and we can make sure to get this packet emailed out to you. Just make sure that you X out of your attendee list box so that you can see what Eric is sharing with you.
So I've shared a PDF that I've got up on my screen. Can anybody see what we're looking at right now?
Yes, I can see it.
This Brenda, I can see it well.
God, I see it fine.
So a picture tells 1,000 words, and so I'm just gonna focus on the image that's right here in front of us now. That is an example that we found in Mill Spring, North Carolina, at an equestrian facility, and that really is exactly what we're proposing to construct and operate at Nashville Farmers Market. Something that's going to be nearly identical to what we see on the screen there. Again, the location that's proposed is in between the farm sheds, and our proposed operation is a natural extension of the craft cocktail services that we've already been offering via our catering license for the last going on about 3.5 years. It's a proposal which allows us to operate permanently in as opposed to the operation that we're currently using, which is somewhat temporary and mobile. It's nice that we're able to move it around and shift places, but what we really realize is that the best case scenario for our business to keep offering a craft cocktail menu at the farmers market is to go ahead and build something that's permanent. And we've got a lot of feedback from our guests who have seen the proposal and seen other facilities like this who have told us that's a great idea, we love it, we can't wait to see that and come pull up a bar stool and see this, this next extension of the picnic tap. And so there's a handful of technical details that go along with this. Obviously, when we talk about going from something that's mobile and somewhat temporary to permanent, part of our proposal involves that we would outfit the facility with proper plumbing, electricity, and HVAC. And so the last part of the discussion here has to do with the timeline that we're proposing. It's been a rough year, obviously, in the bar and restaurant business. So what what we're proposing now is to have this unit at the farmers market constructed and operational approximately 12 months from now. We need a little bit of time to take a look at how we're going to finance the construction and how this, operationally, how it jives with the other operational units that I've got in my businesses right now. But with confidence, I can say that if the board approves this, I think we can look at maybe breaking ground in October and November of this year and have the silo bar at the farmers market operational by March of 2022. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of things to consider here. But the fact is, we've been operating the mobile cocktail bar at the farmers market for a couple of years. We know what in normal times would be the consumer demand for that type of operation, and anticipating that consumer demand is going to return eventually. We think that a long-term solution. Pardon me, my kids are screaming at the door there. We think that a long-term solution that gives us a little bit of time to continue to develop the concept, and break ground later this year to bring it operational in 2022 is a viable path to get this thing off of the proposal, out of being a proposal and actually an operational unit. I'm happy to entertain any questions that any of the board members or any other folks in the meeting might have.
This is Scott. So Eric, give me a 15-second overview of when you talk about a mobile craft cocktail operation at the farmers market. I apologize, I'm not familiar with it. Tell me what that is. So what you're doing now for the last few years at the farmers market. 15 seconds.
Sure. So going a long time back in history, the market developed itself as a destination which included a handful of special events. Previously, there was another company that was providing craft cocktail services during those special events. We eventually took over part of that business and began offering that service during special events, and then realized that customer demand was also pretty big for that just on normal weekends. And so we've been operating a locally focused craft cocktail bar, mostly weekends and highlighting during special events outside of the farm sheds.
And facility-wise, you bring that cart, or it's something mobile that you bring each time?
It's permanently stored at the market, but being mobile, it has the ability to be set up in different stalls in the farm shed, or actually we can wheel it into the market house if so required.
Next question is, when I look at what the screenshots you've given us, tell me about the seasonality of it. I mean, obviously this is outdoors and we have 4 seasons. Tell me your thought process on that really quickly.
Yeah, I think I can see this unit being operational in 3 of the 4 seasons. And maybe even part of the really cold part of winter. We've talked about how this facility might be also somehow similarly enclosed with regard to where the farm sheds might ultimately be enclosed.
Got it. But we'll look at it as an RV. It's a 3-season RV. So my last question is this: in your business, do you have support relationships with certain alcohol providers or distributors?
Absolutely. Our focus has always been on what's going on in Nashville and in the surrounding region. Drink local beer is kind of our unofficial motto. And over the years, we've cultivated relationships with about 30, 35 different local breweries. I say local and regional.
Right.
And yeah, so we've got great relationships with the breweries, and then as we kind of ventured into the craft cocktail business, we began to develop several similar relationships with the distributors and specifically with some of the local distilleries.
Good. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. For further conversation, my mind starts moving towards who can we get to partner with you on these upstart expenses, and how do you expedite something like this? But that's a conversation for another day.
Right. Well, let me finish. My final comment to that is that over the years we've been operating at the market, we've realized that we've got about half locals and half out of towners. I count about 50% of our patrons are locals and the other half are visitors. And one thing that we love to do, and we've made a reputation for ourselves and had a lot of fun doing it, is showcasing what's going on in Nashville in the craft cocktail and the craft beer scene. And people that are from out of town absolutely love it. It makes an incredible impression on their visit to Nashville, that they discover us as a place that features the local flavor, what's going on in the craft beer and craft cocktail scene. They love it, and it's been really fun for us to showcase those things and entertain people who are visiting Nashville, and that's what we want to continue to do.
Well, it's very exciting, very, very exciting.
This is Brenda. May I ask a question?
Please.
Number one, I'm really delighted about this project because you have so much experience and you know the potential, and you're coming at this with a lot of knowledge and market savvy for this particular site. So I think that really bodes well. Infrastructure cost to the market itself. In other words, how much would this change the market's budget? I'm not being negative. I'm just curious about what that would be. Is it clear what I'm asking?
Yes, ma'am. This is Tasha. So with all of our lease negotiations with market health and property long-term lease tenants, the infrastructure improvements, the capital expenses, the construction, everything is at the cost of the tenant. We offer tenant improvement resources in terms of flexible leasing timelines while they're under construction. So in the past, we've offered anywhere between 1 month of a rent waiver period up to 8 weeks of a waiver period, depending upon their build out. But we do not have a cash reserve to fund those infrastructure expenses or to offer tenant improvement dollars. So we've done that because of physical time allowances.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks.
So what we would be seeking at this time is, the board to provide feedback to Eric, which several of you have done. If this is a concept that the board would like to see Eric move forward with, what we would be looking for is that the board's intent for the market to develop a memo of understanding with Mr. Woodard and the Nashville Farmers Market, so that he can begin putting together the financing for this project and the partnerships necessary to carry this forward. As I've shared with some of you in advance, we typically do not bring you a concept that's 12 months out from opening. Typically, we're going to bring you concepts that are near immediate readiness for construction. But this particular time in our economy and in the restaurant and hospitality world, we're taking a slightly different approach here, and we're seeking the board's input so that if this is something that we do all find, that it's a good concept for the market worth exploring, we can give Eric that go forward with a memo of understanding, and then prepare and finalize a timeline that, it could be more aggressive, or it could be timed with the seasonality of the market, which is what Eric has presented to you today, that he would begin construction in November, really at the latter end of our peak season, so that construction of this silo would take place without obstructing the peak season environment in the farm shed, and then be ready to open in the spring. There are a lot of moving pieces with that. The way we have been discussing the potential lease for this location is comparable to the lease term of Gardens of Babylon, which starts at a $10 per square foot rate. That's what we have been discussing with Eric, because it is an outdoor unconditioned space. And he would be required to fund all of the infrastructure for this space, which would include running utility line to the pad, to the actual unit, for electrical and plumbing needs. And we know that won't be inexpensive for him to do, because that area is not currently conditioned for that. Again, we would be looking for your interest so that we can, I guess you could say, get more serious about moving this project forward into a multi-year lease agreement. If the board wants to continue to discuss it in the future, that would be fine. If the board, is comfortable with us providing a memo of understanding and developing that for your review, that can be presented at the April board meeting.
This is Brenda. I think this is a great idea. Oh, I'm all for moving ahead with the memo of understanding.
Yeah, I as well think this is a great idea, and I think it's really important when you've got someone who's been supportive of the market and been doing business there. I would, again, I never know what's kosher and what's not kosher, and it's my first board meeting, so if it's unkosher, y'all will point it out to me. It seems to me, with the management and of the market and Eric, if you guys could put your head together, I think it's probably Eric knows what he would like to have as support and contribution from the market. The market knows, what it, some ideas of what it costs to put some of this stuff together. So, I think it would be great if you could put your heads together, and in the memorandum of understanding, we kind of cut through the chase and say, this is what it's going to take for Eric, and this is what it's going to take for us, and get it down to, a kind of a simple format.
Okay.
Do you need a motion from the board on this, or do you just need people saying, yeah, this is a good idea, let's take the next step?
Well, this is Eric. I think what we're trying to achieve is sort of there's no technical term for this, but in essence, we'll call it a pre-approval to proceed with the project. Again, going back to what Tasha mentioned a second ago, a lot of the proposals for new leases that come before the board are with entities that are ready to sign a lease and begin construction immediately on board approval. Given the unique nature of this project, and again, the state of the hospitality industry in general, we're not quite ready to break ground, but we would still like to achieve whatever level of board approval we can at this point, with the knowledge that we're setting a groundbreaking for much later this year to begin operations in first part of 2022. there's not very many precedents for a new tenant to have such an arrangement with the board. So whatever form that takes per this board meeting is where we'd like to be. We'd like to get we'd like to get the board's interest sort of in our favor to know how we should proceed. And from what I've heard from your feedback, then everyone who's spoken so far has said, yeah, this is a great idea. So that gives me enough confidence to continue forward.
And Eric, this is Scott. I think one of the things that's important is that I would imagine you've got some ideas of the structure of the arrangement that you'd like to see. Here's what we'd like to see for us to make this investment. Here's what we'll do, but here's what we also need from the farmers market.
Right.
I mean, we're moving past, hopefully more sooner than more later, the dynamic of COVID, where people are going to come back out and be able to come back out in a safe way. So we all know that in any restaurant, the beverage part of the business is really, really important. So I'm going on the premise that we meet all the requirements relative to what the food requirement is to serve craft cocktails and beers and all that those I's are dotted and those T's are crossed. But I think what would be certainly helpful for me would be that in a one-page outline, you'd say, for us to move forward, here's what we're looking for from the farmers market. Here's the rate that we're looking that we feel we can pay. And here's the kind of infrastructure money we're going to have to invest. That way we can balance it. I mean, conceptually, and the fact that you're a participant in the market already, all pluses, ready to go. Concept looks great. We've got to leave that on you. But to me, it's like, it's hard to give a letter of approval or like, yeah, it's a done deal without kind of dotting these I's and crossing these T's and understanding. And I think it's in your best interest to tell us what participation you need from the market.
Got it. Okay.
Hi, Tasha, this is Angela. I agree with Scott. And so from here, I'm asking you, is it today we were just want to give Eric our, when we say approval, but we're very interested in the idea. We think it's a great idea. And he comes back with a little bit more data. So then we can give, as Eric said, like a pre-approval. Once he comes back with a little bit more, data for us to chew on, and preferably before the next board meeting.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's exactly what we're all trying to achieve here. And so what we can do, I don't hear any objections to the concept, so that feels really good. I think that should feel good to Eric. What the staff can do is begin working with Eric for him to be able to get us the things that Scott mentioned, and for us to put together a memo of understanding document that would outline Eric's needs and market resources and firm up a timeline. And then in a future meeting, once that's been achieved, whether that is the April board meeting or the May board meeting, bring that back to the board for presentation, review, and hopefully passage approval of that leasing package, so that Eric can begin moving forward. So we're happy to do that with Eric. This is a unique circumstance. It doesn't really fit into leasing that we've done at the market in the past. So we are treating it a bit different in bringing it to you really ready before it was ready for leasing approval. So if there's no objection, then the staff will work with Eric over the next, I'm just going to say 60 days. And if it happens sooner, great. And we'll bring this back to the board in May or April for your continued evaluation.
Yes, thank you, Tasha. And also, whatever you do come with, and if you could give it to us before or as soon as you get that completed, just email
Yes.
that to all of the board members. That would be great. And thank you, Eric, for your time today and sharing the concept again with us.
Thank
The,
you.
the other thing that I would, this is Scott, I would add is, Eric, you can feel free to reach out to me for any input you want, and just, as you're trying to structure that, if we can help you. Same thing with the team at the Farmers Market Board. I mean, it's easy to ask questions and evaluate things before we get too far down the road of people's time and energy. I'm open to talk to any. I've done a couple of projects like this, and that's why I'm asking the questions I'm asking relative to the structural part of this.
Yep. Sure thing. I'd love to. I've got your email written down in my notes too. So.
Great. Reach out anytime.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Tasha, we will move forward with the farm shed merchant recruitment and retention.
All right, Heather's going to give you an update on that as well.
Thank you.
All right, so we actively recruited new farm, food, and craft vendors in January and February of this year to both supplement our returning vendors and augment our current offerings. We do have 5 new vendors approved for this season, including a new farm out of Manchester. It's called Southern Flora Farms, and they specialize in produce and flowers. The majority of our vendors are returning vendors, either from 2020 or longer-term vendors. We also have a handful of vendors who did not return in 2020 but are returning this season, which I think is encouraging to see more folks are starting to feel safe at the market again. During peak produce times such as May, September, and October, all but 5 spaces will be in use on Saturdays. We're looking for multi-day, consistent, and exceptional vendors to fill out the rest of those booth spaces. So we've extended our application past the March 5th deadline to find those last few 2021 vendors. And also we'll continue to recruit to build back attendance on Friday and Sunday, sorry. We created a new area at the bottom of Shed 2 that'll give food trucks a more permanent space to set up outside of the flow of traffic and further from the Market House restaurants. I think overall the season is looking really promising, and we're happy to host so many unique vendors in a safe environment. Are there any questions?
No, I do not have any at this time. Does anyone else? Okay, we will move forward with the executive director's report.
Thank you, Priscilla. Just to kind of expand on a few things that Heather mentioned, recruitment is going really well. We have been discussing our marketing strategies and special event strategies for peak season. With everything continuing to be under the phased COVID restrictions, we've had to evaluate the realities of hosting our very popular annual events. And you all know that Strawberry Jubilee and Community Farm Day and the Peach Jam and our Watermelon Night Market, our Night Market Series, and our Turnip Green Festival, they bring out enormous crowds, particularly the Strawberry Jubilee and the Turnip Green Festival. And so the staff met back in late January, early February, and evaluated opportunities to be able to continue to host these annual activities in a way that was safe for the merchants, safe for our patrons, and also continued to bring awareness and engagement at the market. And what we've determined at this point for the next several months is that we're not going to host the events in person, but instead we're going to host virtual events with a lot of social media and marketing support. So an example of that would be in March. Typically the first Saturday of March we have the Csa Fair. We've been doing that for 7 years, and that event has gone from a weekday event to a Saturday event with bands and giveaways and cooking demonstrations and CSA providers from all over the community. This year, we did not host the in-person event. Rather, we utilized our social media and our website and media outreach to promote the event online. We had a story in the Nashville scene. We've actually had two stories in the Nashville scene about the CSA offerings and benefits in Nashville. And then Heather put together a series of social media stories and blog stories highlighting the CSA providers at our market and educating the community on what CSA programs are and different offerings to help continue to increase awareness of that program, which we all know is important for our small and mid-sized farmers that are operating in our region. So we'll take a very similar approach to Strawberry Jubilee. Strawberry Jubilee and Turnip Green Festival are our two largest events. Those two events will have a digital marketing campaign, some on-premises signage, as well as online engagement opportunities. So for Strawberry Jubilee, that will be the annual Strawberry Cake Contest, where we'll partner with a media partner to promote entries. So our home bakers will be at home making their best strawberry cake, and they'll post their cakes and their recipes, tagging the market on social media, and then we'll have a selection of judges that will select the winner, who will receive a prize and recognition and whatnot. Additionally, those social media campaigns will highlight the growers of those specific products and producers that are incorporating the strawberry theme into their menu or their product offering at the market. So, for example, if Succulent Vegan Tacos is doing a strawberry dessert to help promote strawberry season, they'll get featured on our blog, in our newsletter, and in our social media. If one of our soap makers makes a strawberry soap, we can promote that. If one of our other food artisans that operates in the shed does something with it, or if there's a strawberry beer coming out of the picnic tap, whatever it may be, we will find a way to showcase all the different types of vendors at the market that are incorporating the theme. And we'll learn how that strategy works with Strawberry Jubilee, and we'll take what works and replicate that throughout the season for our annual events. And that won't be the only marketing that the market will do. We're continuing our relationship with Results Media. I know that you're mostly all aware that we completely dumped our marketing spend in 2020 and reallocated how we were utilizing our advertising dollars, because the way that consumers were engaging with advertising changed dramatically due to the pandemic. So we dialed off of radio and invested more in TV and other streaming services where we could invest a lower amount of dollars but expand our reach and actually measure results. So we are continuing to work with Paul Scott of Results Media. We've provided him a budget for the balance of this fiscal year, and we'll be going back on air on Channel 4 and Channel 5 in early May after they've been able to produce an update to our television ad that was created last fall. These television ads will be accompanied with radio copy and print solutions for print advertising that are all complementary to one another. And it will, again, help us to continue to express that the market is open. The things that we are doing related to safety protocols at the facility to make sure that we're continuing to build confidence in the consumer base when they're visiting the market, and then highlight the unique features of our vendors and our facility. So we're excited to continue to make progress there. With that said, we're also very excited to announce that we are in active recruitment for a marketing coordinator and an office coordinator. As you know, all departments have been under a hiring freeze since right after the pandemic hit, and that freeze has lifted. We have posted those 2 positions. The recruitment period is wrapping up, and the staff will begin reviewing those applications end of this week, early next week, and selecting our top tier candidates to begin interviews with immediately. And so those are big, exciting things that are happening. The staff has done, I don't even have words to express my gratitude to the team. We have been a 4-member team for a year, kind of subbing out David and subbing in Heather in the middle of that year. David has wrapped up his time with us and is, living full time in Alabama now. And Heather came on board in late summer and has really stepped up and taken on a lot of responsibility that we may not have introduced to her when we were going through the recruitment process with her. And everybody on the team has really leaned in and grabbed responsibilities that needed to be taken care of and adjusted as necessary. We are continuing to operate on a flexible office structure. So that means that the staff has regular standard office hours and home office hours. And so we kind of work around one another so that we have team time, whether that be virtual or in person. And that will likely continue for several more months as the administration continues to evaluate providing department heads flexibility with their team. I think, does anybody else have anything else you want to add in this report? No, I think I covered everything. One thing that I do want to just share real quick. I know that you've all received a letter from me, and I'll defer to Priscilla here in a second. This is it's a bittersweet time for me at the market. I feel like we're on the cusp of not just turning the corner with COVID, but we're beyond the corner, and we're now on the road to full-scale recovery, and that is a really exciting place to be. And so it's bittersweet that I formally announce that I have accepted a new position, and I'm resigning position as the executive director at the Nashville Farmers Market. It's been an incredible journey, and I'll always be grateful for the past 7 years of my life. At times it felt like an eternity, and at times it felt like I just started yesterday. So it's been a very rewarding experience for me, not just professionally but personally as well. And I'll defer over to Priscilla.
Thank you, Tasha, and thank you for sharing that. We did get your letter of resignation with the termination date being April the 9th. We thank you for your dedication and service to the market over these past 7 years. I know within the last year, it has been challenging for everyone, for the staff and for you. But with the staff, you have been able to turn things around, to come up with new creative ideas and ways to keep us functioning with the drive-through markets, and just keeping the positive attitude that's sometimes hard to have during times like this. And I really appreciate that. We will be working as a board, we'll be working with HR to finalize the recruitment plan, as well as with, advertising or anything like that we have to do. I know that you will be presenting the budget along with the job description on Monday to me as well. And we are hoping to adhere to the recruitment plan that we're planning on reviewing to go along with as well. And also in the interim time between you leaving and the recruitment process going forward, Charles Kaiser will be the interim director during that time period. I know you have worked closely with Charles, and Charles has been just as dedicated with you in keeping the market going. I've seen both of you work together so well. And I've also seen you all feed off of each other, and that's been amazing to watch. And I appreciate that. And I thank you for being able to assist him during this time. And Charles, just to give a little bit of update, and Scott, just to make you aware too, with Charles's background, he did join us in 2016, and he currently manages as far as with the facility maintenance and special events. He's also provided assistance with merchant recruitment and also with relations and building relations with the merchant community and support of them as well. So Charles, at this time, I'll let you go ahead and say just a few things if you'd like to the board and to the staff as well. And again, Tasha, truly, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, your dedication, your commitment to this market. We wouldn't be where we were without you, and I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Charles, I will turn it over to you for a brief moment.
Yes, thank you. Hello, this is Charles. I first want to welcome Mr. Scott back to the farmers market team. To have someone, sitting in that seat that knows a little history about the market and to know where it was, to come in and see where it is today just shows you the hard work that's been put in by Tasha and her team. I also definitely want to thank Tasha for giving me the opportunity to work under her direction at the farmers market. Watching her work with the tenants in the market, which houses a large, diverse group, so that can be challenging sometimes, so thank you. I was a customer at the market before I started working there, and once I started working there, just to see the major improvements that Tasha has made as the director has been very exciting. I'm very excited to continue those improvements with the market. I feel confident that with the board support, working aside Miss Maria and Miss Heather, that we will continue being successful at the market and serving as a catalyst for a healthy community-based food system. So again, thank you, Tasha. Thank all the board members for the opportunity to stand in as the interim director for the market, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. And Tasha, I will add that we wish you all the best in your new endeavor as well. Does anyone else on the board have anything they would like to say at this moment?
Well, I want to say thank you to Tasha. I was around, this is Scott. I was around when she started, and she's not only done a phenomenal job, she's done it with grace and class. And you can just see from the operational and nuts and bolts piece of it to the mission that she's ushered in, and and her total way of looking at what's kind of good for everyone. And I'm really appreciative of all the people that are stepping up as you step away. And I wish you the best in your next endeavor. You're gonna miss it, but the door's always open for you to come visit and give us your input and give us your view. So congratulations and thanks for your hard work.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, if no one else has anything at this time, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Tasha.
Thank you, Angela.
We won't cry. These are happy tears.
They're
Only
happy tears.
happiness.
They're happy tears.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're
Tasha.
in good hands.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye. We look forward to working with you.